Tonya McGrath, executive producer and host of the PowerPLAY show. All month, I'm celebrating women in a series empowering women. From entrepreneurs to artists to authors, the power of women is something to be celebrated, and I'm so excited to bring you some incredible women this month. So stay tuned and join me as we lift up our women all month long in our series Empowering Women, each Thursday on the PowerPLAY show at thepowerplayshow.com.
From the studios at Hull Bay Productions, this is the PowerPLAY.
Welcome to our special series, Empowering Women on the PowerPLAY show. I'm Tonya McGrath. All month, we are celebrating the successes of women in business, education, politics, and art. And I will highlight one woman each week who has inspired me in my life. I'm so happy to begin this series with a woman who describes herself as a serial entrepreneur. Sparkle W. Bass graduated North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, where she received a BS in Electronic, Computer, and Information Technology. She then received her MBA from Kaplan University. Sparkle launched her career in North Carolina, where she worked with industry-leading technology companies in the field of project management. This eventually led to her desire to own her own company. In 2014, Sparkle and her husband Travis launched XII Enterprise, a transportation company, while assisting her drivers and owner-operators in setting up their trucking business. XII Companies was born. XII Companies is a consulting firm that specializes in business startups, business finances, business taxes, and insurance. XII Companies works with established businesses to create business plans, policies, and procedures, obtain certified minority and women-owned status certification, a big shout out for that, and business trademarks and more. In 2020, Sparkle co-founded Wreck and Release, which is Fayetteville's first rage room. We'll talk about that. And Sparkle also co-founded C&P Eatery, a food truck that specializes in America's favorite foods. Then in June last year, in the midst of a pandemic, Sparkle started her real estate career and now is a full real estate broker. Sparkle aspires to assist individuals purchasing their homes while educating them throughout the home buying process. As a philanthropist, Sparkle's desire is to see progression of others, especially the youth. With the help of her husband, Travis Bass, Sparkle co-founded a nonprofit organization called the Cynthia Patterson Foundation in honor of her mom, who taught in North Carolina for over 20 years and was paralyzed in a drive-by shooting in 2005. The foundation's focus is to assist the youth in the communities of North Carolina through providing resources, education, and opportunities. It is my pleasure to welcome with us Sparkle Bass.
Hello, hello, hello.
I am so excited to start this with you. First of all, yes, you are a serial entrepreneur.
That was a mouthful.
It was a mouthful, but that's all that you've done. I mean, yes. It's just kind of incredible. I just want to start off just giving our audience a little bit more about who you are.
Okay. So I'm first a mother and wife. I have, my husband and I have 5 beautiful children together. I personally have birthed 2. And we are hard workers. You know, I'm a daughter, I'm a niece. So I do a lot for my family, my extended family. As you said earlier, my mother is a paraplegic and my aunt is her primary care person. Half of the things I do I would not be able to do without her, because she really takes the load off of me as far as having to take care of my mother primarily and stepping in and doing that. And, you know, I assist her with as much as I can. And whenever she needs me as far as a break or anything like that. So I'm just a regular human being, just trying to succeed in this thing we call life, you know?
Yeah. So your husband, your 5 children, helping to take care of your mom, running these businesses.
Yes.
What do you do for fun? What's your downtime like?
travel.
Okay. Yeah.
So I absolutely love to travel. With this pandemic, I've kind of been crazy. Still trying to get little safe travels in here and there, but not as nearly as much as I normally do, or normally would like to do. So, but that's normally my downtime is traveling, even with the kids, showing them new things, and also traveling without the kids. having that real.
That's important. That's
right.
important.
I used to tell my friends, it was like, I want to take the kids here, take the kids there. I'm like, you need a vacation without the kids. Trust me, it will help rejuvenate you.
I want to get into some of the businesses that you have started, that you are running right now. The first thing that kind of stepped out, that kind of made me take pause, is that this trucking company, this transportation company that you started. Now, this is a very male-dominated industry. So how did you find yourself in this industry running a company like this?
My husband. So he's a truck driver. And so I know my husband since we were kids in high school, but when we actually started dating, he was a truck driver, and he would say little things. Hey, one day I'm on my own truck, and one day I want to have my own company. And I'm just like, one day, let's see what it takes to do these things. And so I would do research. I'm like, okay, how much does a truck cost? I'm like, hey, well, you're making this amount of money a week. We could save up, and here goes a down payment for a truck. Boom. Now you turned $1,000 a week to $5,000 a week. So he was like, okay, yeah, that's doable. And it kind of just started with us teaming up, me doing my research, running numbers. I've always been very business minded. My mother and my father both were entrepreneurs. And so it's always just been something in me, to research, try to figure out how, and, how to do it, regardless what industry it is. And I did my research. We brought our first truck, I say a year later, and no, 6 months later, sorry. and we started running up under another company, but as owner operators. And we did that for a while, and then we started our own trucking company and had people run up under us and hired our own drivers.
That's incredible. And as a woman, kind of, I imagine, surrounded by a lot of men in this industry, how do you find handling yourself? Do you find it as a challenge, or does it not even faze you?
It doesn't faze me. My father was a lion, and he created a lioness. Okay, so everybody say, oh yeah, you're so cute, your name is Sparkle, but I have a side of me that's not so pretty. And men will definitely challenge you, and you really have to be intuitive enough so that you can know what type of person you need to be to get what you want. My daddy always told me, in business and in anything, you attract more bees with honey. So a lot of times that will work, but sometimes you have to let them know that you're not going to be pushed around.
Right.
You're not going to be bullied just because you're a woman.
Right.
And a lot of times, and I've had those situations. I've had it with dispatchers, with people on site, with drivers, even drivers that work for us. They was just like, I want to talk to Travis. And I want to say, Travis, don't cut your check. Travis is driving with y'all.
I love it.
Hey, you want to talk but instead, I'm like, Travis, just go ahead and tell them the same thing I said, but whatever guy code you know how to say it in. So we have different ways of tackling things, and it could be a challenge, but for me, I'm always up for that challenge.
And I grew up in television, and I chose to take the technical side, and I know that you have a technical background as well, and there weren't a lot of women doing directing and editing when I was there, and there particularly wasn't any Black women doing directing and editing when I was there. So for me, I thought about it, but it was more important for me to do the work. And so I wonder, do you think about that as a role model in you being in these different industries that you're in, or do you just kind of do the work and, you know, not think about it as much? Because I think there's like two ways of looking at it.
I never think about it before I go into it. So just like you said in technology, when I started I originally started my degree in electronic computer technology, and it wasn't until I was a sophomore that they added the information technology piece. But that electronic computer technology was circuit boards, building the brains of the computer, soldering, things like that. I was the only female in all of my classes except electives. You know, even like my classes at nighttime, like 6 o'clock to 9 p.m., my professors every guy had to walk me to my dorm, because my professor was like, she's the only girl, y'all gonna walk her to her dorm, make sure she gets there safely. It's all going across campus. Like, and it wasn't until then that I'm like, oh my God, I am the only girl in the room.
But it feels good sometimes, doesn't it?
It does.
And I really enjoyed it.
I did, because I mean, I necessarily was never treated differently, especially by none of my teachers. And it was, I guess I was so oblivious that it was like, until they started making, you know, specialties for me, it was like, no, it has to be another girl in here. I can't be the only one. I'm like, I look around, I'm like, okay, I guess I am, you know, and it feels good because, you know, I graduated magna cum laude. The top of my class. I got recruited by some of the best names in technology, Cisco, Nortel, Microsoft, you know, so, and, you know, it feels good just to be amongst that. It wasn't until I started my first job that I looked around and I was the only Black female in the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, one of 3 women, but the only Black female in the room. So it's not something I think about before I do something.
Right.
It's something that after I look around, after I'm in it, it's like, hey, you're an anomaly.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And with that comes responsibility. And I want you to talk a little bit about that. Like, what does that mean to you when, you know, you find yourself in these situations as the only woman, as the only African-American woman? What does that mean to you in terms of the responsibility that you have, how you present yourself, how the work that you do, that kind of thing?
It's a lot of pressure once you start thinking of that nature, because I think about how I can either make it a pathway for other women that look like me, or I can close the door, depending on my actions, depending on how well I do, depending on, you know, my behavior or how they categorize me. Or am I going to be categorized as the mean Black woman, you know, or, you know, or she
That's a big one.
Yeah, or she was too authoritative, you know, we don't want another one like her, you know. Yeah. So it's definitely one of those things that I always go back to my childhood, and when my mother and my father were always, you know, tell me it's more than one way to skin a cat, and you can still get the same outcome. So I always tell young women that I mentor, I coach, I always tell them, you don't always have to scream and shout to be heard.
Right. Right.
Other ways to be heard.
Right.
And it may be a better way to go about it. So a lot of times people may not see me, you know, hooping and hollering, especially on social media, about certain things, because it's different ways to go about it. I already saw them try that. That didn't work. It did not. Yeah, why am I gonna join the fight? You know, I might as well go another way.
What drives you each day?
My family, my kids, my mother, my aunts, want to create a better life for them. You know, my mother has sacrificed so much for me and my brother, and my aunt as well. So just wanting to be able, you know, that's one of the reasons why I work so hard, because I don't want to give somebody their flowers when they're gone. I'm a firm believer that, you can't cherish it now. I want to give you your flowers while you're here. I want to make it where my aunt doesn't have to stress out about whatever she's stressing out about. My mother has the best care that money can buy while you're here. And I can sleep better at night knowing that I did everything I could possibly do for my mother and my aunts before they left.
You mentioned your parents, who were obviously very, very instrumental and impactful in your life, and of course your husband and your aunt. What other role models do you have in your life that you can pick up the phone and say, I just don't know how to deal with this situation? Who are those other people in your life?
So one of my good friends, her name is Reese. She was my manager when I worked at Fayetteville State. And we are so much alike. She's like just an older version of me. And she has really helped me mature as a woman. Just working under her, learning from her, seeing her career path, and learning not to be afraid. I've never was really afraid of being me, but in male dominant industries and in certain industries where you can be looked at as, an angry Black woman, or, she runs her mouth too much, or, be categorized. You can find yourself shutting down or holding back. And Sherry really taught me, when you're right, Sparkle, they can't argue with right. Do your research, find your proof, and present it. Present the facts. And that's what helped bring everything in my mind and what I knew and everything together. These are the facts. You want to be mad at the facts, be mad at the facts, but not at me. I'm just presenting, I'm presenting this. Yeah. And that's how I do everything. And that's one of the things that I learned from her. She's made me a better presenter. Oh my gosh, she grilled me so hard. She grilled me so hard, with presenting, doing presentations and things like that. That's one of the things. And she's been an amazing friend. Amazing friend.
I want to talk a bit about the Cynthia Patterson Foundation. And what was it that your reasoning behind creating this foundation? I know part of it was just paying homage to your mom, and I'm so sorry that she had to suffer that terrible incident in her life back in 2005. But talk about, why you wanted to start this foundation and what kind of work you're doing with the foundation.
So my mother has always been very big on the youth, helping the youth. She always, even as a teacher, some people like, oh, she's a teacher, that's her job. No, it was bigger than that. Like, to the point, she's taking kids to the beach in the neighborhood, to the fair, loading up her car, other people, volunteering other adults' cars, just to get them out. And my mother is from Harnett County. And so Harnett County is a, small area. It's not much there. It's growing now, but back then it was really nothing there for the youth to do. And of course, she, as a teacher, idle mind is a devil's playground. And that was her saying all the time growing up. So she wanted to create something for the kids so they can be inspired to do more than they saw around their surroundings. So that was the biggest thing for the Cynthia Patterson Foundation. I wanted to pick up where my mother left off. She already had the game plan. I just had to put it in motion. She had started documenting. She had notebooks of her ideas. And it was actually what she wanted it to be called was the Rites of Passage program. And it was going to be for young women. But when I met my husband, he's big on the youth and the male youth, men not having fathers in the household, not leading direction. So we wanted to kind of combine the two ideas so we can focus on everybody. And the idea is to help the youth pre-college, middle school, high school age, to determine what they want to do. All kids don't want to go to college. And then if they don't want to go to college, we throw them to the wayside, in a sense, society does. It's like, well, what you gonna do? Get a job? but then we're not telling them how to get a job outside of, fast food restaurants, Walmart, etc. We're not telling them there's things called trades that you don't need a degree for, that you can actually make good money in doing. We're not giving them that idea until they may get locked up, and then they have to go into a program, then they find out they could get a trade. But why get locked up before you find out you could get a trade? So we create those environment for them, and we have mentors there. We do sessions. We take children to colleges that want to go to college. My husband works with the children that want trades. So whether it's, contractor work, truck driving, electrical, plumbing, we have those specialists come in and teach the children, to kind of figure out what they really want to do. Because that's just like when you go to college. Some people go undecided because they really don't know what they want to do.
Right.
Until they get into it. And that's anything. I went in thinking I was going to college for computer science. I took one class and said, this is not for me. So we want to create that same environment for the kids where they can really see what they're doing. And we're also, next year, the pandemic kind of pushed us back, but next year we're partnering with colleges to see if we could have like a career day where people from the departments could come and really talk about what these children can do with these degrees.
Right. Well, if you ever need anyone to talk about broadcasting, I will be your woman for that.
I will love it.
Because I think that what you touched upon is so important. One, college is so expensive, and there's way too many families who can't afford to give this to their children. And the student loan whole process to me is just like mind numbing. One of the things that my husband, because he didn't go to college, but he went to trade school. He's a mechanic. He's a electrician, plumbing. He can do all these things. He built my new kitchen all by himself.
And it's
I have
lovely.
A brand new kitchen.
It's lovely.
Yeah. So it is, because you don't have to call anyone. Just like, hey, babe, I want to do something different here. Let's make that happen.
Exactly.
And I think it's just such an important thing for young people to know that it's not either or. It's not either you go to college and be successful or you don't.
Right.
It's that there are other opportunities out there that may not necessarily mean a 4-year degree or even a 2-year degree, but maybe just several months of just really working and being diligent with focusing on something that makes you happy, not something that is going to try and something that's that doesn't interest you, that there's no passion behind that or anything. So kudos to you and your husband working together, because I think it's so important. And like you said, it's important to get the woman's aspect as well as the men's aspect. That this series is called Empowering Women. And what are the things that you are most proud of in your life as a woman?
I'm proud of my family. I'm proud of my family. That's it. That's my why. That's what I do it for. My son is a great kid. My oldest son is a great kid. And my baby son is giving his parents a run for their money. Just to be honest, we don't know what we're doing. I waited too long to have another child, just to be honest. And we're starting over, but I'm proud of my family. I'm happy to be married to my husband, and for us to be working together, because I've heard, seen, been in the horror stories of, you wanting to do something and your spouse not supporting you, or you wanting to do something and your spouse has no drive to do anything.
Right.
And to have the support of my spouse, and to be able to be an example for my kids is what I'm proud of.
Yeah. Oh, our lives are so similar because my husband and I built this production company together, and I run it, but he just gives me everything I need in order to run it. And,
Right.
he never worked in broadcasting, but he showed such an interest because he knew that this is what I was very passionate about. So, like you said, just having that person who's a real partner in life, not just a spouse and a husband and sweetie pie and all that stuff, but a real partner that, when you are, at your highest, he's right there with you, or she's right there with you, and at your lowest, the same thing. So, I think that that's just a great message for people to really understand that, because you're right. There's oftentimes in relationships, it can be very competitive,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I see that a lot, particularly when the woman is very, very successful, and the man may not be as successful. And I think, and I've had those circumstances as well, where things didn't just work out.
Right. Yeah, and like kudos to my husband for real, because he does not mind playing the back seat, the back role. It's like, hey baby, you go out there and shine, and I'm back here doing all the work. But seriously, he really makes me look good. Even with our business, Rage Room is Wreck and Release. Oh my God, his name is not even on the business, and he put in so much work for us, me and my friend Shahara, who started Wreck and Release. He really got us up and running. If it wasn't for him, I don't think we would have had a grand opening in October, seriously, because he really put in a lot of work for us, and just out of love, not because he's receiving anything but some kisses.
Mm-hmm.
And some thank yous.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that's the most important thing to me, is my family, having that support system, having that team member, like you said, a real true teammate that's going to be able to, be there for you when you fall, and be there for you, and be just as happy, for you when you win.
Right. Now, in the midst of a pandemic, you also decided, hey, let me be a real estate entrepreneur as well. So in the middle of a pandemic, talk about that.
So I'm kind of an opportunist, okay? So Wreck and Release was started in the middle of pandemic, October 2020, okay? And before that, I told my friend Shahara, I was like, hey, I'm gonna go to real estate school. She was like, oh, really cool. Told my husband, I was like, hey, I'm going to real estate school. He's like, oh, really cool. I'm gonna go too. I'm like, what? So, went to real estate school, I think November, December, January, and I went to real estate school pregnant, okay? So my son was born February the 20th. So I was like, okay, I'll graduate real estate school the first week of January, take my test, and then boom, I have my son, Then I start my career. Crazy. I know. So we graduate, we passed our tests for real estate school. My husband and I, we took our exams, failed the state, passed the national. And this was the week before I was due that we took the exam. So I'm having contractions, not really dilated enough to be an active labor, and I'm having contractions, and I'm sitting there in there testing. I'm like, okay, I did really good. I did enough. Click that button, and it said I failed the state. I go out there, the lady says, oh my God, you failed by one question.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
Yeah.
In labor, having contractions.
Yes. So I'm all disappointed. Boom. My son comes, and right after that, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna study a little bit. I'm gonna give a week or two, and I'm gonna study. Boom, pandemic hits. So that halted everything. So me and my husband, we just kept studying. And when it opened back up for us to finally take our test, we took our test in June, and we passed. And I've been running in this real estate business since. I had 2 closings this week already, and I have another one scheduled. And we're doing really good. Our first year, we did about $3 million in sales. And this year, My goal is 20 million. Don't know if I hit it, but as I tell anybody that set goals, you set your goal for what you want, regardless if you hit it or not.
That's
you know,
right.
you reset that goal the next year. So that's my goal, and we're pretty on track. We're doing good. I haven't calculated the numbers yet on actually where we are. I know we're at least at 2 million in sales, but I'm not really sure.
What is next for the serial entrepreneur that you are? Do you have any other little ventures in your head that you think that you may want to exclusively, just between you and I? The audience doesn't have to know.
So for me, seriously, my next thing is real estate investing, where I'm going to, my husband and I were going to start investing in properties and things like that. But I talked to my husband and I told him, for me to invest in another business with everything that we have going on, it would definitely have to be hands off for me. I would just really be investing money and expecting a return on my investment based off the analysis I give to the business. I don't have anything like that in the works right now, but I'm definitely open to opportunities like that.
Has there ever been an idea or a business venture, anything that has failed? And how did you handle that if that was the case?
Yes, I have a lot of them that failed. And they've only been, in the early stages. I don't think I had anything to really fail in the late stages, but yeah, it's for me, it's the cost of doing business. I don't take anything like that personal. I don't look at a failure as a loss. It's always a lesson in that. I learn something every time I fail. And some people, they can't. I think in school, we teach our children that failing is bad, when really we shouldn't teach them that, because they receive a stigma in life. Like, oh man, I got this wrong.
Yeah.
I don't need to try again. And that's not how it needs to be. I never, well, in school, of course, they taught us that, but I never grew up with that mentality. So, I fall, I get back up, and we try it again. Now I know that I can't do this, this, and this. Let's see if my other plans work.
Mm-hmm. What is it about Sparkle, you? I know that, your family is your drive and you have all the support around you, but what is it about you that makes you so successful?
I think it is how I grew up, my way of thinking. What I've noticed now as an adult, I think differently than a lot of my peers. And I can't really explain it, put it into words, but I look for opportunities. I don't look at things as, oh, I can't do it. How parents say, never say you can't, you can. I really believe that. My husband and I, we laugh all the time that somebody, we went to the mall and we saw someone, making sneakers, and it's a line lined up, and we just stand there and look at them. It's like, I can do that. So I really truly have that I can do that mentality. And it can be a flaw sometimes, because you'll find yourself in a mess when you realize that, hey, that was a lot of work. I can do that, but do I want to do that?
Right.
So yeah, I think it's just my way of thinking. I have that I can do anything mentality.
The PowerPLAY show ends with asking our guests 3 questions. And my first question to you is, who are some of your role models today, whether in the areas of business, politics, maybe if it's not even something that someone you have met? Who are your role models today?
I don't have business role models, or I'm going to say I don't have like famous role models. My role models are people, real people to me. My mother is one of my role models, and she's my role model because of the way she treats people. My mother was always known for her generosity, her love, and her compassion. And that's something that as a woman growing up around men, you kind of lose. You kind of lose that softness. So that's something I still work at today, at being, loving and compassionate towards people. As far as business, my role model is my father. I learned a lot from my father, and where he may not be the best businessman, his ideas, even today, I still say, my brother, Daddy was right about that. Daddy was right about that. I gotta see why he did that. So even today, I'm still, saying to people like, hey, my dad knows his stuff. Barely a high school graduate, never went to college, but is a very successful businessman to this day. So for me, it's, those are my role models on people that I aspire to be like, as, virtue, as, a person and business.
What advice would you give to young aspiring entrepreneurs, particularly women?
Particularly women. There's no glass ceiling. Don't let them tell you it is.
I love that. Last, I want you to finish this sentence, and I'm going to ask all of my guests this month to finish this sentence. I am an empowering woman because...
I am an empowering woman because I never gave up.
Sparkle Bass, thank you so much for being a guest today. Tell our audience how they can get in touch with you and learn more about your business ventures, any websites or contact information where they can find you.
Okay, so let me go down the list. So for 12 Companies, the business consulting firm, you can reach out to me on our website at 12 XII Companies, COMPANIES.com. Or you could give me a call at 910-514-6065. It's best to book a consultation because I am a very busy woman. When it comes to real estate, you can reach out to me at that same number, 910-514-6065. That's the absolute best way to reach me. You can text me or call that number. For food truck vending services, you can reach out to C and P Eatery, and the and is spelled out. That's C and P Eatery on Facebook, Instagram, or you could go to our website, CandandPeatery.com. And lastly, if you ever find yourself in the Fayetteville, North Carolina area and you want to blow off some steam, definitely book you a session at Rec and Release. It is Fayetteville's first rage room. You will enjoy it. It is a great date night, hang out with the girls, or even if you have small children, trust me, they would love it. So you can book your session at recandrelease.com. It's rec, WRECK and AND release.com.
Awesome. Well, I am inspired by you. I'm so thankful that you are kicking off this series, Empowering Women, on the PowerPLAY show. Sparkle, I wish you the best in every single thing that you're doing. God bless to your family, your husband, your mom, the foundation and everything. I wish you nothing but absolute continued success in everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate this opportunity.
Remember, you can listen to past episodes of the PowerPLAY show wherever you subscribe to podcasts, including iTunes, iHeartRadio, and now Pandora Podcasts. You can also watch our interviews on YouTube. Simply search Hull Bay Productions Media Channel, and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And as always, we air on BroncoIRadio.com each Saturday at 5 p.m. So be sure to tune into the PowerPLAY show on Thursdays for a new episode wherever you subscribe to podcasts, or on YouTube at Hull Bay Productions Media Channel, or simply visit thepowerplayshow.com. I end today with highlighting a woman who has inspired me in my life. Marianne Williamson is a spiritual activist and author. I begin my day reading her poem, Our Greatest Fear. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Thank you, Marianne, for inspiring me every single day. Until next time, I'm Tonya McGrath. Put on a mask, stay safe, and protect each other.